Hello and welcome to RLCS 2026. That's right, we are here. The events are starting Friday, this 14th, as you can see here, and I've assembled a calendar of basically every single RLCS event by the day in this calendar format, so that way we can all be informed of what's happening when, because sometimes it's a little bit tricky to find all this information, especially in one place or summarized by the day. Thanks to Liquipedia for assembling this, as well as start.gg for having the times on there. I've converted everything to Eastern time in the US for simplicity. Apologies if that's not your time zone. It's actually not my time zone, to be honest. Do the math if you can. If not, there are some pretty cool calculators online that can help you make sure you are all set. So without further ado, let's talk about what starts Friday, the 14th. We've got EU double elimination. As you can see, EU is going to be in blue. SAM is yellow, and NA is going to be in red. APAC is in orange. MENA is in green, and OCE is in purple. SSA is without a highlight because kind of ran out of colors. So let's look at it. So this weekend, Friday and Saturday and Sunday, is basically the kickoff for some of the big regions. So EU has double elimination for back-to-back days. That basically gets it down to 32 remaining teams. Once the 32 remaining teams are there, they're going to play a Swiss stage for the EU on the 16th. That's a Sunday. Now, there's rarely streams for most of these teams. A couple orgs will do streams. Some streamers that are connected to orgs will do a stream where they follow along and watch the games and kind of comment on them. So at this stage, you're basically going to be relying on either people streaming their own run, or more likely the org content creators streaming the run. And that's going to be for this first weekend where you've got APAC's double elimination, EU's double elimination, SAM's double elimination, and NA double elimination. Now, if you're really hardcore, you can basically just hang around a couple of the team streams this Saturday, and you should get to watch, a little bit of competition. I don't know any specific orgs that are streaming the double elimination, but it does seem like typically there's at least some people doing it on Twitch or on YouTube. So typically where these orgs are at least going to start showing it is the Swiss stage, and all of that's happening on Sunday for APAC, EU, SAM, and for NA. So you basically have a full slate. You can see starting at 4 a.m., and then the last start day is 7 p.m., so assume that goes probably about 2 hours, maybe slightly longer, for a round 5 Swiss team. So that is going to narrow down these 4 regions from 32 qualified teams to 16 teams. So if you don't care about the double eliminations, you don't want to watch your favorite team absolutely beat up a group of diamonds and champs that signed up for fun, then I'd say wait till Sunday, start watching it then, because the Swiss stage is where we're going to get the first look at how these teams play against each other in the region. So there's going to be 16 teams left for there. Starting off on Thursday the 20th, MENA then begins their double elimination, so they're a week later roughly. And they're also going to be on that Friday. So for the first round of regions, you can see that's the beginning of the group stage. So APAC, EU, NA, and SAM all go from 16 teams down to 8 teams in the double elimination group stage. So that will get your top 8 for those major regions. EU and NA, as far as I could tell, according to Liquipedia, this is when the official stream is going to start. So if you go to twitch.tv or youtube.com/RL Esports or Rocket League Esports, whatever the URL is, you should be able to watch this on the official stream. You won't have to rely on any sort of content creator or org. But I'd recommend you support the orgs, because if they're going to stream this and put this together, we should do our best to watch our favorite teams play. So that day will be EU in the morning time for NA, and then the NA will be slightly later in the afternoon, so 11 a.m. and 1 p.m., as well as the SAM group stage. Honorable mention out to Rocket Street Live. Looked like these guys were planning on kind of being the official, quote unquote, the unofficial official stream for Sam. So make sure you check that out as well. And we're going to be going down from 16 to 8 teams on that Friday. Then on the 22nd of Saturday, OCE starts their double elimination. APAC goes from 8 to 6. NA goes from 8 to 6. And Sam goes from 8 to 6. SSA also does their double elimination, and the MENA starts their Swiss stage. Sorry, I kind of jumped around there. It is in order of time from the first kickoff to the last kickoff, but as you can see here, there's definitely going to be overlap, so we are a little bit stuck picking our favorite region and following them. So you're going to notice EU actually doesn't play on this 22nd. They play on the 23rd, and so that's going to be on that Sunday, whereas NA is going to be on that Saturday. So at least they're going to stagger the two main regions on the official Rocket League channel streams for those 4 matchups where 8 teams are going to go to 6 teams. And that's going to be for NA on Saturday, the 22nd. And on the 23rd, that's going to be EU doing their playoffs. Of those 6 teams from NA and EU that weekend, those are the teams that are actually flying to Copenhagen to play the kickoff LAN in person on December 5th and 6th. So we actually aren't going to watch the finals as like traditional Open 1. Those teams are going to play in person on LAN at the Copenhagen studio. So it's a little bit anticlimactic for that weekend because we're just going to have the top 6 teams, but we should be watching a lot of good matchups within the regions and kind of see like who's looking good, who's kind of not looking so good, you know, what team has a good start, what team has a shaky start, all that stuff. On the 23rd, besides the EU playoffs, there's also the OCE Swiss stage, the APAC playoffs. So this is the first event where it's going to be, you know, a team gets crowned for that region for Open 1. So APAC is first. And as you can see, they kind of have they start on the 15th, and then their championship is on the 23rd. And then later that day, Sam is going to do the same thing, where Sam is going to, you know, take the top 6 teams and the best team will come out on top. So at least by the 23rd, I would recommend APAC playoffs. You know, if you are an early bird, you'll probably catch the beginning of that. Or sorry, you'll catch the end of it if you're in the US, because if they start at 4 a.m. Eastern, then by the time they get to that 5th game for the championship or whatever the number is, you know, a couple game series later, then it should be closer to like 7, 8, maybe even 9 a.m. Eastern time. So if you can wake up a little bit early, grab a cup of coffee or something and watch APAC, you know, let's try to support that region, even if you're not living in that region. So that would be a good way to view that on the 23rd. SSA has got their Swiss stage that day. EU playoffs we covered 100 times in a row here. Sam playoffs, 6 going down to 1. Rocket Street is going to do that one. And then also honorable mention, I know I said this is an RLCS calendar, but I had to throw CRL in here. So the fall championship, which is the end of their 2 kind of mini splits, is going to be on the 23rd. It will be on the official Rocket League stream as far as I could tell, which means it's probably going to be later in the afternoon, but I couldn't find a specific time. If you do have the specific time, please let us know in the comments. But if you're in the States, you know, CRL fall championship is going to be happening on the 23rd. So tons of good Rocket League on the 22nd and the 23rd. Should definitely have that weekend kind of bookmarked, you know, be ready for it. As you can see, nothing really happening on the Monday through Wednesday period here. Then you've got MENA group stage on that Thursday. There will likely be several team streams at this point, but I didn't see any notes about an official Rocket League channel stream. That is definitely subject to change. So sorry if this is incorrect information. On the 28th and the 29th, you can see OCE goes from their group stage of 16 down to 8 and then 8 down to 6. Obviously, this is going to be for either the Night Owls or the extremely early birds, right? Because it's going to start at 1 a.m. Eastern time. So, you know, try to make it if you can. If you have insomnia in the United States, this is, you know, your entertainment for that night. SSA has a similar structure, but they're later in the day. And MENA playoffs are actually happening on the 29th. Now I have to assume that the Rocket League channel will feature at least this day. I'm hoping they pick up all 3 of these days in a row, but I don't know for sure. And I didn't see any notes of it on the Liquipedia page yet. So on the 29th, that Saturday, you should be tuned in to see who MENA's number 1 is. Is it going to be Falcons? Is it going to be Twisted Minds? Is it going to be another team? Could be an upset. So make sure you have that bookmarked for Saturday the 29th. Okay, let's talk about the very final piece at the end here. On the 30th, that's when OCE playoffs are happening. That's 6 teams down to 1 team for the winner of Open 1. And that's a little bit later. That's 4 a.m. Eastern time. So another one on Sunday morning where if you can wake up early or if you're an early bird, you should check it out. Make sure you support OCE, see what's going on over there. SSA later in the morning for us in the United States, but, pretty good time for that. I did include the December 5th and 6th, even though this is technically the November calendar. This is the NA playoffs where the teams are going to play on land to take Open number 1, and EU is going to be the next day on that Saturday. So it'll be a Friday and then a Saturday. I could not find a time for when these matches were starting. I've got to assume it would be early afternoon based on the fact that they're going to want to show NA, but they're in EU playing, so they're probably going to pick early afternoon for NA and early evening in EU. That's my estimation. I don't know for sure. I have zero inside information. Hopefully this was helpful. I'm sorry I kind of went all over the place as I was going through it, so please feel free to pause the video like in the sections I was talking about to make sure you're looking at your region. And yeah, this is Rocket League. We are right here on the precipice. I'm putting this out the night before this double elimination starts. So I'm going to put this out today on the 13th. And, feel free to come back to this and reference it as you need it. Also, the Liquipedia has all this information on it, as well as it will have the matchups and all that. So thank you to them for always being an excellent resource for us. Last but not least, if you haven't checked it out yet, please go to the Martian Turtle latest video as of this recording, where he invited me on and also invited Bel Air on for us to do our top 20 preseason team rankings. We had a ton of fun. We literally talked about it for 2 hours straight. So, we got really in depth, and we didn't all agree on everything. So, you should go watch that video and check it out and let us know what you think. So make sure you go out to that channel. I'll try to include a card for it at the end of this YouTube video. Thank you so much for all the support. And I feel like a kid, on Christmas Eve. This is pretty exciting. Be seeing you in the live chat, and be seeing you in reactions, predictions, all that stuff's coming out soon. So if you want to talk more RLCS, please subscribe, like the video, and we got a fun season ahead of us. Take care and talk soon.